Today's guest is a visionary in the world of architecture and immersive design. Thomas Hundt, co-founder of Jangled Nerves, has spent the last 25 years crafting interactive spaces, exhibition designs, and artistic media installations for some of the world's most prestigious brands and museums. From navigating the challenges of sustainability in temporary constructions to creating captivating, unforgettable experiences for visitors, Thomas brings an artistic and functional approach to every project. In this episode, we talk about his approach of using modular and rental systems, the fascinating story behind the Red Pavilion of Mercedes-Benz, where nearly all materials were resold or reused, which makes it a sustainable success. We also talked about his belief that the more restrictions you face, like timeline or budget, the more creative you become. I'm excited for you to hear his insights on the future of exhibition spaces and how he's reshaping the industry. Before we go into the podcast, if you could just go and rate this show on whichever platform you're listening to it, it makes a huge difference to the podcast, the amazing conversations we get to have, and the incredible guests we're able to get on the podcast. So it's probably not something you would think about, but if you could just go rate the show, follow it, or share an episode, it does make a huge difference to the show. Thank you so much. In a world increasingly facing the challenges of climate change, with the Building Green podcast, we will dive deep into the intersection of architecture, design, urbanism, and environmental responsibility. I'm Ladina Schipf, your host. I've been an architect and building site manager for the past 10 years. During my studies at ETH in Switzerland, as well as in my working environment, I've had many touchpoints with sustainability, like many of you, I guess. I've also learned to question what I've been told, which is why I decided to go deeper into the topic and uncover what sustainability actually means. My mission is to highlight the transformative power of sustainable architecture, not just as a practice, but as a catalyst for broader societal change. Subscribe for more of our content and enjoy the show. Thomas, thank you so much for joining me today on Building Green podcast. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Thomas, thank you for having me.
An architect. I'd say you're more of an artist. You create communication concepts, immersive spaces, interactive experiences, films, and artistic media installations for museums. Your work focuses on designing and building memorable exhibition spaces for huge brands worldwide. Now, let's talk about the perspective on temporary construction, which comes with a lot of sustainability challenges. How do you balance the paradox of temporary constructions having the same requirements as permanent ones, especially when it comes to bringing together aesthetics and functionality in a project?
Yeah, I like your idea to play with the question, am I an architect or not, or am I an artist? At the end, I always would commit to be an architect. I studied architecture. But you're right. Our work is very close to perhaps what you can see in art. On the other hand, 99% of our work is also related to a direct aim or a need from our customers, and perhaps that's the big difference to art. And it is not something we get in mind, do and hope that someone will love it and buy it and pay for it. It's really a job. On the other hand, we always try to keep as artistic as possible to not only fulfill the direct need or request from our clients, just because then you can create other reactions, other emotions, other memories for the audience or the visitors of exhibitions, trade fair shows, temporary or permanent. And you're right. Like my time of work is now around 25 years as Jangled Nerves, and started before as a freelancer. And in the last some years, the perspective on these temporary topics really changed tremendously. For good reasons. We have another awareness of climate change, the responsibility we have to bring into every project. Since then, a lot of things really completely changed for our work, because we lost this kind of freedom to just do whatever comes to mind for some hours or some days. And on the other hand, perhaps this is also part of being an architect. I learned even already at university that it's always about restrictions, and the more restrictions you have, the more creative you can be. It seems to be simple if you get just an open space, nothing on it, and you say feel free. But this horror vacui, the fear of the empty piece of paper. If there are no tricks, nothing that you can just use to perhaps your ideation, it's really hard. That's the reason why a lot of children's drawing books have this idea of continued drawing instead of just offering an empty piece of paper. And if you regard all these restrictions, perhaps it's even not only a restriction, it's the question of doing the right thing. The more you get these borderlines around you, the more I think it stimulates your creativity and leads to new solutions, new ideas, and also provides you a possibility to talk about.
Talking about restrictions, what are some typical requirements you get from your clients and from the exhibition itself?
As I said, normally there's really a defined goal behind the things we do. Yeah, we have to communicate different things. Could be a product that has a world premiere. The restrictions are like from the beginning, and this has not changed, is time and money, because 90% of our projects have really start with a lot of possibilities, but a defined date of delivery, because the trade fair show starts on a day. An event for 100 years existence of a company is on a certain day. Delivery day is one of the big restrictions, and this helps in a lot of projects with a very narrow timeline. We were able to make very creative things because there was not so much time to rethink.
What's
and
a
rethink.
Typical time span?
Typical time spans for projects. So the longest project we did is the Stadtpalais Stuttgart, the City Museum. It was 9 years from the moment that we won the competition to the opening. And I
guess that's not typical.
That's absolutely not typical. And I think the shortest ones were like 7 weeks from we have a problem. We invited 600 guests, but we don't have an idea what we showed them. But typical, for example, for in the museum, in the field of museums, it's like 3 years, could be also 4 years, sometimes only 2 years. And for trade fair things, communication of products, it's around 9 months. The project duration.
And so you've set yourself the goal to work as sustainably as possible in exhibition stand construction. What does that mean? What are some of the practices or insights that you rely on most?
So for the temporary installations, exhibitions, there's one big chance in our business, and it is that there's a huge amount of rental technology, rental elements, ready-mades that you can use. Easiest way for all the AVL things, so audio, video, lighting, nearly everything you need to do an exhibition or an event is rentable. So this is something you really can integrate more and more in the projects. A lot of our trade fair booths are meanwhile really built out of prefabricated elements, not only for AVL but also for wall segments, for flooring elements. So this is something that existed already since since long time, but is perhaps already done now with a better understanding in an earlier phase of the project. It's not only driven by chance; it is really something you try to already plan in the designing process.
And how important is modularity for these rent materials?
Most of them are based on modular systems. Imagine that the LED screen is just a tile, 50 by 50, 60 by 60 centimeters, and then you start building with this like digital bricks, like Minecraft in reality. But normally there's this doesn't lower your possibilities or your creativity at all. As I said in the beginning, when you know there is a possibility, then you start with this. If you only have Lego bricks, you can build whatever comes to your mind. It always will look a little bit like Lego. Perhaps this is even nice to see, it's Lego, but it's something I didn't expect.
It's as you said in the beginning, the more requirements or restrictions you have, the more creative you can get.
That's the point.
Let's talk about recycling, particularly the Red Pavilion project at IAA in 2023. You incorporated reused materials into the structure. What were the challenges and benefits of doing so?
One part is trying to use as many used materials as possible. And the other is to use materials that can directly be reused. So for the project you mentioned, the pavilion for Mercedes in Munich at the IAA show, we used ready-mades like the scaffolding, the rental scaffolding system. But then we came up with this idea to paint everything red. It is already something that exists on the market. We changed it a little bit with the colors. We were even thinking about perhaps we can do the branding or the color change in a way that we can easily get rid of it after use. But we decided to keep it in red because we found the company who was so fascinated about this red scaffolding that they wanted to buy it. And same for the steel construction of the whole building. Before we went into detailed planning of the building, we already found a client was interested in buying the whole steel structure for a permanent building. So the temporary building for only 1 week in Munich was like a stopover for the building. And I think that the important part was that we already knew where the steel will be used later, which brought us in a position that we were able to adapt the planning of our pavilion already, keeping our goals and aims and then needs in mind, but also already fulfilling all the needs of the further and permanent building later.
I guess that helps a lot in the detail planning as well, like the joints and connections and everything. Do you know what they've used the structure for?
Yeah, it's an office building that was built out of it.
Is there also an economical benefit to doing so?
Sure, because perhaps the effect is not so big as you may think, but the reason is because in this trade fair business, the use of so-called rental steel is really something that is already done since years, just because of economic questions. Because nobody was interested in just buying steel beams, using them for 5 days, and then throwing them away and just getting the price for the mere steel material. Because the beam is much more worth than the mere material. So it was really usual since years and years that you use rental steel, rental building elements. But I think that the intelligence in planning and already pre-planning, foreseeing what could be done out of it later, this really changed. Yeah. And it also became part of the storyline, because I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was just done and nobody talked about it. Now all the companies are interested in being part of a circular economy. It also gets part of the story. It helps us, for example, also to create big pictures that already tell about this. Yeah. So I think this temporary scaffolding look of the pavilion also has to do with the idea that it already tells the story of I'm only temporary and I will be something else within the next days. It's really is inscribed in the big picture.
Very beautiful. And in terms of sustainability, do you also consider the transport of these materials after they get sold or reused?
Yeah, logistics, transportation is also a big topic. I think one big part is the distance. That is very important. So whenever it's possible, you try to source material locally. That's not so easy. Yeah, for example, as you know, we work for the next expo again. We will again do the pavilion for Luxembourg. We did the one in Dubai, and now we're working on the pavilion for Osaka. Next year, April 25 will be the opening. And as the Japanese market of rental AVL elements is not so big as an expo needs, it is hard to do local sourcing, because if something like the expo takes place, you have to try to collect all the elements from as close as possible. You won't get everything from Japan, but we're really trying to source as much as possible locally, and what is not available there, we try to find out where you can get it without too much logistic costs. And again, this not only because you should do it, at the end, it's also an economic factor. Even more with since pandemic and the delivery chains problematics, logistic really has become so expensive that you're also forced from this side to rethink everything and to find other solutions.
If you're enjoying the show, I have a small favor to ask that would mean the world to me. By rating and sharing the podcast, you're helping us grow and spreading our mission of making sustainability really desirable and cool to a wider audience. Besides of that, imagine impressing your colleagues with the latest insights on sustainable architecture. So make sure you follow the podcast and become the most informed in the room. Thank you so much for your support. With this idea of local sourcing or this focus in mind, what is your design concept for that project in Osaka?
So in Osaka, I think the important to know is that we are responsible for the exhibition, and we do the project together with partner architects and with the Meyer, Luxembourgian architects. Already the competition was. We were in this partnership, the architect and the exhibition designers, and we really started with this idea how to build something on the expo, that can be first sourced locally, can be built up easily, can be dismantled without destroying the materials, and can be brought to reuse also as close as possible. The building structure itself is kind of agglomeration of smaller pavilions, so that already the size of the used materials and the built structures is not too big, So it can be handled easily, can be transported more easily, and can be dismantled without destroying this huge formats. There are already some parts of the projects where we know where the facade elements of the building will be reused for residential and local projects around Osaka. There's the Luxembourgish embassy is in close connections to different towns and areas around Osaka to find projects where we can just deliver our materials after the expo closes down.
That's cool. What local materials are you working with?
It's wooden materials based on wood, but it's like technical materials with a high amount of wood, and the big roof that is a little bit like the umbrella over our house that keeps the rain away, but also keeps the sun away. Like has a microclimate underneath the big roof. Is this textile structure. Yeah. So the whole concept is not to try to do everything with one material or one facade, but to use a kind of layering system that keeps us to provide the necessary climate solution for the visitors.
Cool. And what other sustainable materials do you usually turn to? Like, for example, how did you approach the material selection for the House of Bavarian History exhibition? That's like this huge interactive installation.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think for working museums, you really have to differ between the temporary exhibitions and the permanent exhibitions. Completely different to trade fairs where you talk about like some days or 2 weeks or something. An expo is half a year, more or less same for temporary exhibitions. They are normally also like they're shown 6 months, 9 months. And if we talk about exhibitions that stay for a longer time, you always have to be aware that the museum normally when it's rebuilt, when the exhibition is rebuilt, normally the museum doesn't get the money to change big things for the next 10 years or even 15 years. Yeah. And then the idea of what is sustainable completely changes, because then you have to find materials that will be also nice and nice looking and well working in 10 years time. And if they age, if they get their patina, it should look well. Even if you can see that it is not completely new. It is something you don't get in a temporary exhibition, but for the permanent exhibitions, it's very important to choose materials that are able to age in a nice way. If you have lacquered over surfaces, normally with one scratch, it is destroyed completely. Yeah? But if you have wooden materials, the beauty comes with the with the age. So this changes the design process, the decision making, and sometimes then it's worth investing more money into a material. But even there, it's always about the question where you can source the materials. Yeah, we did an exhibition here in the Haus der Geschichte Baden-Württemberg, State Museum of History in Baden-Württemberg. And as it was, the Black Forest is part of Baden-Württemberg. You know, we had a huge effort to really be sure to get the wood from there. Sometimes it's even not so easy to find out where you get it from. Then it was part of the storytelling and of the concept of the exhibition to be not only precise in the historic details, but also precise in the question from where our wooden materials come from.
And I guess you also have to plan a bit with this interaction with people. I have the feeling often architecture is unconsciously built for an image and not that much for the interaction with people, but your constructions are really made for the interaction with people.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to take this in mind, because if it's like a perhaps more traditional idea of exhibition or museum, means that you don't have to touch anything. Keep your fingers off the pictures, and the more people are asked and engaged to interact with the exhibition, the more you have to provide materials that are no barrier to use them. But you're right, you have to build everything in a way that it is is able to deal with the use of this, at least with the areas where people really come in direct contact with the materials. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the same question, like I said, with things that can get nice patina, that even get better with the age and with the usage.
Mm-hmm. So I want to move away from material and go into digitalization. Mm-hmm. You've touched it already before. What sustainable effect does the shift towards this digitalization have on exhibition projects, in your opinion?
Yeah, digitalization delivers a kind of complete upper path for the whole design process. Yeah, if you look at these R strategies, so you can start with the first topic, refuse. Yeah, so if you don't build because you use it digital, and then you have a huge effect. On the other hand, we are human beings. We consist out of our physics, and we want to meet other people, not only virtually. This was the reason why I at a late point came to the idea that you also could visit me or us here in Stuttgart. But digitization really delivers a fantastic way of really refusing a lot of things that you perhaps some years ago thought you have to do them. You can build complete worlds that you don't have to build up in reality, and you can connect them to the physical space, and the digital space becomes a kind of continuum with the physical space. Looking at the car industry, you can drive with the car around. You can see 10 different cars or 10 different machines that you don't need to bring to the trade fair show, but they're on the booth. So one machine is the representative that you really can touch and try out. 40 other machines are just in 1-to-1 scale on an LED close to the physical machine. In a lot of product portfolios of our clients are so huge that you are never able to show everything on a trade fair show. So the real physical exhibits can be reduced to some placeholders or brand shapers, and all the variations and possibilities you have are just shown digitally.
So when talking about digitalization within your projects, like if you have like TV panels and stuff, I guess the energy production in those exhibition spaces are immense. Do you know how the focus is there on sustainable energy production?
A lot of the events and shows are or take place in very professionalized locations, like event spaces, trade fair halls, and so on. And all these companies who run these locations also are completely aware and working hard on solutions to provide all this energy as sustainable as possible. So I think this perhaps 10 years ago, nobody had big big thoughts about diesel generator just around the venue. Yeah, because when you needed the power, then you rented an energy supply thing, and you can't do this anymore. Yeah, you would for good reasons get a big shitstorm, and even there for this reason. I think the behavior completely changed. In most of the cases, you can get like green energy. It's nothing new, but I think the whole thing changed tremendously with the LED technology. Yeah. In years ago, when 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we had to really have big air conditioning in all the venues because the lighting heated up the whole venues. Yeah. Now with the LED technology, this is no more the big topic. Yeah. So I think there a lot of things completely changed. I think there's a huge development into this direction, and I'm sure like perhaps even next big expo 5 years later already will have a lot of solutions with pavilions that perhaps supply themselves. 5 years later, we have pavilions that provide even plus energy.
That brings me to my last question that I have. Looking towards the future, what excites you the most in the industry? Where do you see it going, and where do you think we should focus on more?
All these things you do, yeah. How you try to perhaps like refuse things that are not necessary, how you rethink your design approach, how you perhaps reuse things or give them back in a circular system and so on. I think this becomes more and more a remarkable part of the stories we tell. And at the end, because at the beginning you asked or said I'm not an architect, yes and no. Like the J and the N, the yard 9 of Jangled Nerves. Yes, I'm not an architect, and yes, I'm an architect, and no, I'm not an architect. But how we understand ourselves is communication architects. So we build, we design, but it's always not about the building; it's about the story. The more this intelligent approach to the use of materials, the use of your means, and what you do and what you skip becomes part of the story, the more natural it becomes, and it is not an attitude and not something you just do because you can tell it. But if it gets part of the story, this is what I really like about this change. And there I see a big future for the whole business I'm in, and also see a big chance for how Jangled Nerves is understands itself and tries to work.
I see. I made quite a statement there by calling you not an architect. So, actually, why did you decide to call your office Jangled Nerves?
It already started at the university. So Ingo, my founding partner, also studied architect. He was not in the same semester than me, so it was really like end of our time at the university when we met, and then we worked in parallel on our diploma works, and published some crazy little short stories about the future of architecture in the internet of 1995, which was more or less only text. And Ingo found Jangled Nerves in an English to English dictionary. And we just loved it, and started to use it as a kind of signature of what we published and what we thought, and it became the name of our work as freelancers. And then when we founded the company, we didn't even think about another name. And what we like about it is that again, there's this idea of communication architecture is directly within the name, because the jangle is the impulse, the information, and the nerves are the physical part. Yeah. So it's a little bit like body and soul. Yeah. The nerves are the body. The jangle is the soul. So it's digital and physical and analog and digital and yes and no. What we really like about this name.
Very cool. And also like this, the nerves of the temporary into the next and yeah. So if people want to follow your work, where can they find you?
We have a nice website, jn.de or janglednerves.com. We are on Instagram, trying to show glimpses in our work and also in our working culture in the office. I try to tell a little bit of my life as well as the CEO of Jangled Nerves, but also as a professor for architecture and design here in Stuttgart on my LinkedIn account. So I think there's a lot of possibilities to look on, and who is interested, just drop us a line and come to visit us here in Stuttgart.
Cool. I'll put all the links in the description. Thank you very much, Thomas, for your interesting insights. I'm going to walk away with the beautiful story of to see temporary as a temporary object before it becomes a final construction, rather than just temporary associated with waste. So it's very beautiful. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Thank you. And I'm happy that I could perhaps rearrange some synapses in your brain and perhaps in a lot of other brains of the listeners of your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A huge thank you for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you listen to the podcast to support me and so you don't miss an episode. And while you're there, I'd also be so grateful if you could rate and review us. If you have any guest suggestions or any feedback, you can find me on the socials at Ladina Schöpf. Thanks.